And we are recording. Hello, Liz. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. We're going to have lots to talk about. We're going to be talking about drama. So how many people out there listening today, our lives are full of drama? I've
Yeah,
had that. I know I've experienced a lot of drama in my days. And when you came up with that topic, says, listen, we got to talk about drama. A lot
yeah,
of people have drama and negativity and, the drama queens and drama kings out there and all that negativity. So I'm kind of excited because I think this is a topic we really don't talk about too much.
yeah. No, it's actually not talked about enough. I think it's one of those things that until you are hypersensitive and aware of where you're at emotionally, you're gonna fall into the trap of the drama circle, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone knows what I'm talking about that's watching right now.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too, is like, how do we break free of that? So when you came up with this idea, was it something that was was it intuitively inspired? Like, are you seeing this a lot in your clients? Like you're kind of going,
Yeah,
like you're just caught in this drama, girl, and you need to
yeah.
kind of just move yourself away from it.
Yeah, well, 100%. Clients are our best teachers for sure,
Yes.
right? So we gain a lot of wonderful insight through them. It was a case of my own drama through life, having my own challenges, dealing with my own feelings and emotions. And then I came across this great gal in England, Heidi. Oh my goodness, I can't think of her last name, but I'll get it to you. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But I was reading something that she had put out, and I was like, wow, that is exactly what I have been thinking, saying, feeling, putting out there to my clients. And so she had actually put it into writing, which was amazing. So basically, the tune in that I had was that I needed to get a handle on my own
Okay.
feelings and emotions. And I always felt like that wasn't something that was within my control. Like I can't stop somebody from doing something awful to make me upset. That was my belief system. And I am confident that a lot of people watching this are going to be feeling the same way. Like so-and-so upset me, so I've been angry for days or weeks or months or years in a lot
Yes.
of cases, right? So I'm holding a grudge because so-and-so upset me, or this person disappointed me, and so therefore I'm going to be in drama around this, and I'm going to create chaos and uh, around that situation. And all it ever ends up doing is repeating itself time and time again. So the first thing we need to look at is victim energy when it comes
Okay.
to drama.
Perfect. Yeah. Cause that is really, that
Yeah.
is quintessentially what it's all over the place. Like I've been seeing that. I'm actually going to be talking to a depth psychologist
Oh,
about the victimizing. Yeah. It's going to be
I have to
fantastic.
see that. I will
Yeah.
have to message me when that show's on for
Yeah.
sure.
So I'm going to be interviewing her next month. It's going to be fantastic. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's that victim mentality that's out there. And you just see it so much out there. And it's almost like everybody's regurgitating it. It's like they're kind of, the body wants to get rid of it. There's an energy trying to shift that consciousness out of it. And it's like, "Bleh,
I know.
here's my victimhood, deal
I
with it." But it's not
know.
really me that has to deal with it. It's yourself that has to deal with it. And that kind of energy.
Yeah. So when you have somebody who's in victim energy, also known as yourself, right? Because we've all been there. We've all had that moment of victim energy.
Yes.
Woe is me. Um, what will happen typically 99% of the time is we will seek out reasons to confirm we have the right to be angry. We have the right to be sad. We have the right. So we will seek out energetically other reasons to quantify our feelings of victim energy. So
Yes.
right now in the world, we've got all this stuff going on. The whole world's in lockdown. People aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and so that creates a victim energy with the ones that are. I mean,
Yep.
I've done it myself. Why are people still traveling? Oh my God, right? We've all done it,
Yes. 100%.
right? And so we get into this, I call it a drama circle. We all know the word drama circle, the term drama circle, but it's
Yes.
more of a triangle, okay? So it always starts, well, it doesn't necessarily start with victim, but typically victim is like the one that gets you invested in the triangle. Okay.
Yes.
So you're a victim, someone's done something wrong to you. FML, people type that all the time on social media, right? Life is just terrible and I have every reason to be upset. I have no money, nobody loves me, everybody I know is dead, you name it. There's a reason, right? So you start out there, and then what inevitably happens is we move into persecutor mode, right? So we start out, woe is me, and then we start finger pointing. And we start to complain about how this person did this and they did that. And, if it wasn't for what you said, I'd be happier. If you did this, I'd be happier. It's your fault. And so the persecutor mode comes in and we are really invested in that, right? Like,
oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it's so juicy. It's so addictive. It's yummy.
Oh my gosh, right? It is. And we'll bring others in, right? In the persecutor mode, like we'll be like, did you hear what so-and-so did? Or did you see what they did? Or how they dressed or whatever, it doesn't matter. So we're now in that angry, we went from feeling sorry for ourselves. Now we're in anger and disgust. And then what happens is the human spirit becomes, somewhat disjointed. They don't nobody likes to be angry. Nobody likes to be upset. So we then start to feel guilt. Feelings of remorse and guilt. Maybe I went overboard. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. So we end up going to rescue mode. And rescue mode is where we get our, we fulfill our karmic role, right? That's basically what it is. So I'm now going to take care of somebody else so that, I spot a victim, somebody who's being victimized. I'm going to step up for them, or I'm going to help them in any way, shape, or form that I can, to alleviate myself from feeling guilty of being a persecutor. Yeah. And so there you have it. You go victim, persecutor, rescuer. And it becomes a perpetual circle, or triangle, as we'll call it.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing is, it's so addictive too. And you don't realize that you're in this because it comes like a subconscious pattern. 100%. And then you just take that triangle and you just move it to another thing. Like you think you've changed it. But let's say, for example, you just change it from one, then you use it to another situation, and then you put that in another situation. You still haven't changed that triangle.
That's right.
And that same energy pattern until you break free of that energy pattern.
That's right.
So it is so addicting. And I've been there too. I've, been in that victim rage, and I had it for the longest time. I didn't realize I was.
No,
for the longest, it took me years to figure that out. Yeah. But thank God for therapy, because I wouldn't have a freaking clue. Until it was like pointed out to my face. Oh, by the way, Mike. And it's
yeah.
Really?
No.
Oh, that's why so that's why this keeps happening all the time. Why do I keep attracting these crazy people all the time? Why are these people like attacking me all the time? I don't get it.
Yeah.
What's the deal? And then you say, okay, let's remove myself back. And then you if you could just remove yourself back just a bit, kind of be that observer and go, oh shit. Yeah, this is something that's part of my life.
Yeah. It is 100% a part of everyone's life. There is no escaping the drama triangle. Okay. So the only thing there's no escaping it. I shouldn't say that. There is escaping it.
Yes.
It's being consciously aware that you're in it in the first place.
Love that.
Once we're in the rescue mode, which is, it's usually starts as a victim and or rescuer, right? So how many people out there listening right now are running around trying to take care of everyone around them and supporting them, taking them by the hand, walking them through life, doing everything they can to make that person's life better. And then what inevitably happens is you feel betrayed or used or overwhelmed by them, not stepping up in their life. And then you end up being back in persecutor mode, right? Yeah. Or the opposite, the victim. I'm the victim because I've done everything for you and you're not even helping yourself. Or I asked for one thing and you can't even help me.
Yeah, that's, it's so true. Like you just don't realize that. And I think another way to describe it is like the martyr syndrome, the victim martyr syndrome, where it's basically, I just gave you everything. I sacrificed myself for you and you don't give me anything in return. So
Yes.
it's just another version of that.
It
It is
truly
so
is.
addictive and so things. And it's amazing when you don't realize how quickly you can get into it, and then how quickly it becomes a part of your personality. And it's just the way you are. It's the way you're being. You don't realize it.
Yeah.
And you just think that's what life is, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does suck when you're hanging out in the triangle, um, because it feels endless. It feels like it can go on forever. There's a lot of wounding, licking of wounds, releasing ourselves from others. That the whole cancel culture right now. It's a lot of drama triangles happening around the world, right? Everyone's canceling everybody, and there comes a point where one has to sit back, and this is what happened with me. I sort of sat back and I went, okay, why? Why do you feel compelled to keep, my biggest challenge was rescue victim, right? I was rescue victim. I definitely was a persecutor, don't get me wrong, because I definitely finger pointed. But I played the perfect rescuer and the perfect victim roles. And so I had to ask myself, why am I putting myself into this position on a regular basis and always feeling lost in it?
Yeah.
Why do I always feel empty and hollow? Because I ultimately I would support, and then the person would keep repeating the same action. And it's like the definition of insanity. And you're like, I can't help you. And you
Yeah.
feel like giving up. And then you feel like the victim because you didn't do a good enough job. So, and doing what I do for a living as a psychic medium, working with people, who are more often than not in victim mode, right?
Yes,
They're
for
coming
sure.
to me because of something that's happened. I had to, sit down and say to my guides, what is the deal here? How do I break this cycle? So this is the tips that they gave me.
All right,
The
perfect. This is
first
great.
thing, the first thing they told me was, you believe that you're not in control of your feelings and emotions. And I was like, no, I really am not. I mean, I can't control somebody who's being mean to me or yelling at me. And what am I supposed to just like be Spock and not have any emotion, right?
Yeah,
Like, how does that work?
exactly.
And they kept reminding me, you're in control. You're the one in control of your feelings and emotions. So I thought about that, and it hit me. Well, happiness, sadness, anger, laughter, all of those feelings and emotions I am creating within. So yes, and somebody else's action can create or formulate that reaction from me, but I have the choice to actually invest in that
And
energy.
react back to it.
Right. So when you get that awareness that you actually are in control of how you respond, all of a sudden you feel very powerful, because now I don't have to react. I don't have to be Spock, but I don't have to react in the negative, the victim, the persecutor. I don't have to. And when I do, I recognize immediately that I'm in that choice. I chose to do that. I chose to raise my level to anger or frustration or whatever it is, right? So what it does, because you're human, you're going to have those feelings and emotions.
Yes.
That's by default, it's going to happen to you regardless. What you can control is the extended period of time that you hang out in that bitter barn. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you can get out, you can open the door and free yourself. You're not stuck there. So it's really, it's about controlling and taking back your power.
Yeah, that is such. I mean, right there and then, we could end the podcast right there. Like, I mean, that is quintessentially, that's the thing, is it's how you react to it. I mean, that's your choice. And again, it's always about choice. And it's also too, is you're not giving the other person their feedback, because they're looking for that response in order to feel
Yes.
themselves that particular way. So I mean,
Why is somebody sparring with you unless they're a victim, rescuer, or persecutor?
yeah,
They're in a triangle.
yeah, they're looking for that response. So I can feel this certain way, so I can just justify how I feel is because you didn't react the way you were supposed to react to make me feel. And again, it's that whole, dependent, codependent type of energy where we get into.
Which I was for many years. I can take ownership of that. I had no idea that I was codependent.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, sister.
Yeah, like until I got out of a relationship that I thought I thought I needed it in order to survive. And then the light bulb went off and life kind of took over, and I kind of got stronger, more aware, that kind of thing. And counseling, wonderful, wonderful counseling, and reading many books on it. It was like they wrote the book with my name on the cover, Liz Throp, this is all about you. And I was like, wow.
Please read.
Yeah, exactly. This is your new Bible. So, you know, when you have that, you know, sense of awareness, and there's no shame, right? Like, if you can take ownership of your feelings and emotions, you're like 10 steps ahead of everybody else. Like, it's okay. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you're hanging on to stuff. But I learned another really cool technique that I'd like to share with you guys. And
yeah, please.
It's called the 5-minute rule. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I am so excited that you have it, because I'm just going to take notes while you.
Perfect. So the 5-minute rule is this. So, you know, like we're gonna tap into like an anger energy or a sadness energy, which we've all experienced, okay? Or disappointment energy. So let's just say, you know, something has upset you, and immediately you react like, you know, angry, and your levels are raising and your head's getting hot. The first thing I do now is I look for a clock anywhere, you know, usually on my phone, and I have like the clock there. I give myself 5 minutes to invest in that energy. So if it's anger, I really invest in that anger energy. 5 minutes. I watch that clock, and I'll tell you, Michael, you will not make it to the end of 5 minutes, because when you're truly invested in being angry, what happens is you start to get like, after a minute, you're like, this is feeling great. You know, like I'm giving it. And then over like a minute and a half, you start to go, okay, come on, time. Come on. Like, we got to get to the 5 minutes. So I got to think of something. I'll throw something. I'll, you know, stack a pillow, or I'll like scream, whatever. I never make it to 5 minutes. And I think to myself, I must look so ridiculous right now. And it makes me laugh every time. Yeah. And I take myself out of that invested energy. And at the end of the 5 minutes, you know, usually I'm at about a minute and a half now before I start to cut. Okay, I've done my 5 minutes. Yeah. I will still give myself that 5 minute time frame, and I will sort of calm myself and close my eyes and breathe and do my little meditation moment. At the end of the 5 minutes, I say to myself, can I change what's just happened?
Yes.
The answer is simple. It's either a yes or no. And if it's a no, right? Like, there's no in between. There's no gray area. You can either change it or you can't. If it's a no, I accept it. The acceptance is key, because once we accept something, it's like a load, or you know, a load is lifted off of us. The acceptance is, you know, well, I'm going to take you down a little path here. Think of COVID, right? We've all been in lockdown. We were all anticipating this to be over in a couple of weeks. Well, everybody was. I knew immediately that it was going to be a 2.5-year stint. So anybody watching this, I hate to break it to you, we're going to be doing this lockdown thing for 2.5 years, unfortunately. It's a little bit of sidebar there. However, I immediately accepted that this was going to be how life is. So I have not been stressed or overwhelmed by the whole lockdown situation, because I'm anticipating it. I know it's happening. Yeah. Had I been in, you know, after this lockdown, life is going back to normal, which most people were in, of course your anxiety is going to raise, because you were expecting things to be different than what they are. So until you accept what is, you are going to keep engaging in those feelings and emotions that you don't particularly like. Yeah, right? And
it's so true. Like, I see it. I actually live in an apartment building, and it's amazing the conversations I have when you're in an elevator just with one individual. Yeah. And it's always the same type of conversation. It's very fear-based. It's always this thing, and it's always, you know, what's going on, and, you know, oh my God, this is happening. And, you know, again, it's always about perspective. And I get the one thing that is interesting about this whole thing is that when you start allowing yourself to give yourself permission with that 5-minute rule, which is, I think it's a fantastic idea. I wish I would have known about that, like,
I know,
15, 20 years ago. I would have, you know, damn it, Liz, where were you 20 years ago? Damn it. I'm blaming you now.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
It's all your fault, Liz. Yes. That's it.
I
Yes, we're going
know.
to get into that mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, when you go through that, it's just how simple those little things you can change and just flip that switch, and it gives you that permission to say, yes, I'm angry. Okay, but then I can leave it and go on with it. I know in the past where once you get into that victim mode, you start bringing up every little thing that you had. Let's say, for
Yes.
example, some guy pisses you off and you cut you off on the road, or does something stupid or says something stupid. You go into that anger mode. And I've caught myself, and I've done this lots of times, where all of a sudden, every little person who's ever pissed me off or screwed me over, it just like it replays in my brain. It's just that wheel keeps spinning,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it takes you a while because you don't realize you're doing it. It's like, why am I thinking about this?
Yeah. Because you need to quantify why you're a victim.
Yeah,
That's why.
and it's constantly, and again, it's
Yeah.
that sub programming that it just,
Yeah.
until you kind of pull yourself back, and again, it's that wisdom. Once you start building that, you realize, okay, why am I stupid? This is like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? Yeah, this is not good.
So
I gotta,
true.
yeah.
I know. I know. And every single human on the planet wants to be in control, right?
Yes.
Like that's what we're all striving for. Some kind of control over our lives, over the direction our lives are taking us, over our bank accounts, over our jobs. We want control. And most things aren't within our control. Specifically, if you're going to work for somebody else, that job is only limited within your control because you can only do what you can do. You're not in charge of the paycheck. You're not in charge of running the company unless you are, right? But
Yeah.
the majority of people aren't. So there's this powerless feeling constantly. From the minute you get up, I'm controlled by my time. So my time is dictated. I only have so much time to get this done, and my house needs to be organized. My outdoors need to be organized if you have an outdoors. I got to deal with kids. I got to deal with family. Time, everything is, taken away from me. So obviously we're resorting to victim, right?
Yes, of course.
So the only power and control that I have discovered so far, I'm sure there's more, but I've only discovered this so far, that I can actually have in my life is my feelings and emotions. That's the only control I have. So how I react to events, situations, and people in my life, that's the only power.
Okay, just hold on. Let's just repeat that again. Let's just emphasize that, because I think that's so important. So if you just kind of reemphasize just what you said.
So the lack of control that we feel we have is actually what I've only discovered is that it is the power to control my feelings and emotions. That is where my power source comes from.
Beautiful.
And let me take it like another step further.
Please do.
Have you ever been in an argument with somebody and you immediately when somebody's raging, right? Like we've all been in an argument. What happens is we stop listening, right? We turn off the listening, like our ears shut off, and our brain kicks in to a response to the very first thing they said to us. That's just normal human behavior. So now our brain is thinking, how can I respond to that very first line that they gave me? They're like the Peanuts teacher, wah, 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 wah. That's all you're hearing in the background, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And because their energy is heightening, we're feeling energetically that, like we're feeling that rage. We're feeling it. It's like it's inside of us.
Yes.
And so the only response that we typically give is loud, nonsensical information. Like, you did this to me before, so I have a right to be angry, or I had a right to do that to you, or I'm sorry, I didn't do it the way you needed me to do it. Whatever it is, we react. And the moment you take back your power and stop and say, okay, I control my feelings and emotions. I'm going to allow this person to have that moment because it's a human emotion, human moment. I can't control their feelings and emotions. That's on them. Yeah. I can't control their reaction, their anger, their aggression, whatever, but I can control mine. Yeah. So I have found taking a deep breath and releasing myself from the obligation to respond immediately to that guttural, you know, we want to get in there and
Yeah.
take
You
over.
want to, it's like, yeah, how dare you? It's like, yeah,
Like
you want to come at me? Yeah.
the
You get,
show up, right? Yeah. You take that moment of clarity and just go, I don't have to respond in this moment. I need to take a minute to think about what my response is going to be to this. And I need to make sure that when it comes out of my mouth, it is calm, it is direct, and diffusing, right? Because nobody likes to be yelled at. Nobody.
no.
So the moment you take that split second reaction and change your mind to respond differently, what happens energetically is you're omitting this calmer energy, and the person on the other end is going to receive that and have no choice but to be diffused.
Yeah.
Now,
You're not
does
giving him
it work?
you're not giving it any ammunition for the
That's
fight,
right. That's right.
because once you start laying into it, I know I've had, it's just interesting because I've had several experiences, with, some very, very dysfunctional individuals over my time. And actually one of my neighbors over here in my building, and it's interesting. He will go into a fit of rage, and
Yes.
we've been battling for years on just the stupidest thing, but you can't, you try to explain something to him and he just goes into this rage fit.
Yes.
And I don't do rage really well. I mean, as a man, we're built for a couple things.
Yeah.
When somebody starts getting you rage, it's either one thing, you lead into violence to go against it. And it's just a very sick pattern that we get into. But then I learned this trick. It's like getting into your heart space. So I knew I was going to have this argument with this guy. So all I did was just get into my heart space. Now, one of the things too is that I'm a very psychic empath. So I pick up everything. So I'm very,
Of course
very,
you do.
it's the worst thing in the world sometimes. But I learned to be in my heart center. And he just went off in his you could just see him, like I thought he was going to have a stroke. Like that's where he
Yeah.
went. And I stood in my heart space, but I didn't say anything. I just stood there in silence in my heart space. And it was just like, I was like, it felt so powerful because I didn't have to do that. I didn't get into rage. And like you said, that guilt, because when I go to that particular spot, I really don't like the person who I become,
Nobody
because
does. Yeah.
no, it's just like, it's like, I can't believe I'm like this person. I know better than this.
Yes.
How did I go back into this? But, getting into the heart space and giving yourself, a little time just to kind of sit there in presence
Yeah.
and not saying anything. Sometimes not, I mean, that's the most powerful thing, is not saying
Dude.
anything, because
Yeah.
they don't know what to do.
That's right. You're deflating the balloon in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the challenge is your brain is trying to override your heart in that moment. Like, no,
Yes.
just respond to that. Then you're like, don't respond to that. Like the little angel devil thing, right? On either side of your shoulders. Another thing that's a great tool for the listeners. Like anybody watching this, that is a great way to respond, is just not engage. If you feel it's absolutely necessary because, you're in support of something or someone or whatever, like we'll use work as an example, and somebody's raising their voice and getting really heated, the best thing you can do in that very moment is lower your voice and slow down the way you speak. So you're lowering the voice. And as you speak, you keep lowering your voice, because when somebody's raging, they don't want to hear what you're saying, but their brain can't help it. Police use this tactic. You'll see this with cops, the training they get. They will be calm, assertive, and lower their voice. And people can't handle it. You will watch them deflate. And it's quite a wonderful tool. I mean, if you're dealing with somebody who's in that mode a lot, this is a great way to kind of deal with that without having to invest in that same energy or fall into the drama circle.
It's so true. And it's so often we get caught up in it. It's almost like it's that primordial aspect of our brain. It's that reptilian factor inside there that kind of goes, you know what, it's either fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And in that reaction, because you think you're in danger, and sometimes you could be in danger, and your brain automatically reacts, I got to do something. I can't just sit there. But then you realize a lot of times it's just a lot of hot air. It's just they're unable to control their own emotions, and
Yeah.
in a very healthy way. And that's something, I wish there was more work in schools when we deal with emotional intelligence and how to handle and deal with that. Because
Oh, it's happening. It is happening for the younger. My grandchildren are learning really great tactics in school, like yoga, meditation. Like they're getting that in school now, which is
oh, okay.
phenomenal. But I was just going to tell you, I just remembered that gal's name. Her name's Heidi Sawyer. So
Heidi
just
Sawyer.
for anybody who wanted to know who she was.
Little shout out to Heidi.
Yeah, a little shout out to her. She's incredible. So, the next thing that we need to be in awareness of is, now you've calmed yourself, you've controlled your output, and you're in control and having your power space back. It's then recognizing that it's okay to not take it personally, because this is part of the big major problem in the world. That if I could solve anything, if I could spread one message around the world, it would be everybody stop taking everything so personally, because that is a fundamental problem in society.
Yes.
That person backed in, took my parking spot. I'm taking that personally. That was my parking spot. No, it wasn't. Get over it. It's not that big of a deal. That person likes that person more at work. I'm going to take that personally. You name the list of things, that clerk at the store helped that person and they're not helping me. I'm going to take that personally. And so we immediately default into either aggression or frustration or sadness or overwhelm as an empath, right? And I'm sure the majority of your viewers, right, are tuned in. They know what we're talking about. Obviously, they're finding you for that reason. So all the empaths out there automatically default to taking things personally, because we would never behave that way, right?
Yes.
We would never do that. How could somebody do that? How could somebody behave like that? I would never say or do any of those things. But those that show up in your life and behave like that are teaching you a very valuable lesson. And that is, it's got nothing to do with you. It never did, and it never will. So as soon as you can accept that there's nothing personal going on here, that person's just having a crap day or week or month or year, and you're just on the receiving end of that negative, crappy energy, there's no reason to be upset by it. And it sort of helps you deflate your own personal, exchange.
Yes. Yeah. It really helps it just alleviate a lot of it too. Because now it's like, because it's amazing how often we take things personally. And,
oh my gosh.
It's exactly like you said, being an empath, like I just take on everything. Everything was personal. Everything was personal. I mean, I still struggle with it. I mean,
we all do.
Yourself, working as a psychic for years, you're just more aware and a little more attuned with the energies around you in your environment. And it's so hard sometimes. I struggle with that sometimes. It's like, man, why did that jackass just do that? Like it just your brain just kind of goes, okay. But then, like you said, just remove yourself. And, it's that learning process, building that wisdom, kind of like, that's the thing. It's just building that wisdom, and like you said, it's the teachers. They are our teachers. And they kind of like, all right, I guess that guy, he's an asshole. I can't do anything about it.
One of the things that I learned from my spirit team was, I had very little patience. My husband would probably say I still have very little patience, but it's a lot better than what it used to be. And I remember saying, like, why are you throwing all these obstacles constantly in my path? Like, aren't you guys supposed to be working with me? Like, isn't that part of the team effort here? And I would have these angry, frustrating conversations with my team. And finally, they were like, your patience, we're trying to help you learn it. So are we going to just, boom, have a magic wand and you're going to learn patience? Or do we have to throw roadblock after roadblock until you realize that the only way to acquire patience is to have constant stimulus in that area to finally go, okay, I give up. I am not going to care anymore. I'm just going to accept it. And that goes back to that, just accepting what is.
Yeah.
You know, all of us intellectually know what I'm saying today. We've all intellectually, everyone's going, the light bulb's going off. And we're like, yeah, that's so true. It's taking control of that wisdom and applying it on a daily basis. And I promise you, you will not be one and done and cured. It's not going to work like that.
Come on.
It's not going to work like that.
Where's this magic wand you keep talking about? Because I would love that. I wish I had that years. And it's like, and it's like funny because you talk about your peeps too as well. It's like sometimes I had those conversations too. It's like, damn it, where's the magic wand? I want that magic wand. I want you to wave it over my life. Boom, bop, bippity boo, and done.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't exist.
No.
It's never going to exist. The only magic wand you possess is this thing right up here, this noodle.
Yeah.
And once we start to apply what we intellectually know on a daily basis, that is when we can start to alleviate that pressure that we feel, you know, to be who others want us to be. Well, you know what? Nobody else is asking us to be anything. We assume others need us to be a certain way. Once you let go of that stuff, oh my goodness, like, yeah, you can be whoever you choose. And it's so freeing. So there's a lot of layers, like an onion, right? Many layers to this.
Of course, yes.
But it's like the little tips that I've shared today. If you apply just one of them every day for the next 2 weeks, you'll create a habit. And then apply another one for 2 weeks and you'll create a habit. And before you know it, it's not even a conscious awareness that you're doing it. You know, like you're not having to go, oh, I have to remember the 5-minute rule. Oh, I have to remember not to react here. You just do it. And you know, where I said it's not one and done, you'll have those moments where you escalate in emotion, anger, frustration, sadness, whatever. And because you're aware that it doesn't serve you to be in that, you will immediately have that higher awareness to drop the level, like drop the escalation. It's not worth it. Because you know yourself, like when you have like anger or sadness, it takes so much energy out of your person.
Yeah.
You're exhausted. The feelings of guilt and remorse off the charts. And really, of all the feelings and emotions one can have on the planet, guilt, it serves no purpose unless you're a murderer. And, you know, none of us, like the majority of people watching are not murderers, right? No. You know, I can't even kill a fly. So, you know, at the end of the day, guilt doesn't serve very many purposes. I've not really found any, you know, I was raised to feel guilty about everything. God bless my mother.
Of course.
You know, it's a tactic parents use, right?
Oh yeah, that and shame. That and shame.
Yes.
Shaming tactics. Yeah. It's like make you feel so bad.
I know. And you know, as a mother and a grandmother, I have found myself defaulting to those old tactics that I was raised in. And then I stop myself and I'm like, oh, what did you just do? So then I'll have like the long conversations with the kids and, you know, it's okay, Emma. It's okay. We knew we were being bad. You know, it's like, oh God, now I'm making them, you know, it's so, yeah, there's all that guilt, right?
Yes, of course.
So yeah, we could talk for days about this, but it literally is making a conscious awareness decision that you don't want to be that old you anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things that we're all trying to go that evolve in that way to become a better person, better human being in general, and you know, taking those personal responsibility. And that's one of the things I love to promote. You know, and I was so happy when you said, okay, let's talk about this subject. And you know, it is really about taking personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's so important. You know, you're responsible for how you feel, how your emotions are. Like you said, there's a lot of things we can't control. You know, I had to learn the hard way, just kind of, you know, let go and just kind of just go with the flow. And it is very liberating. And it's amazing how much energy you, like you said, like you just, if you're focusing on guilt, and it just takes away from your energy field and it makes you feel like crap. It ages you. It makes you feel like it literally makes you, it make you sick, like that types of emotions and energy. you know, instead of being expansive and creative, you're more into that contraction and disease mode, and it can make you really sick. So those are just some very, very poignant things to think about today. And are there any other tips that you can think of that you can kind of leave our viewers with today too as well? I mean, we
Yeah.
could probably go on forever on this.
Yeah. Well,
And I would love to, but I know you're in a little time constraint today
I
too
know,
as
I
well.
know, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
You know, the other valuable lesson that I learned is to accept my vulnerabilities. So, you know, we talked about, you know, it not being one and done, but accepting my vulnerabilities. So I'm sensitive. And I, you know, for yourself being an empath, you understand what I'm saying when I say sensitive.
Yeah.
And for many years, you know, my entire childhood up to my late 30s, I thought that was a curse. I honestly thought that that was like the worst thing. People would tell me, you're so overly sensitive, Liz. Like, why are you so sensitive? And don't take it so personally. And, you know, I'd be like, oh my God, like you're just making it worse, you know? So I had to have that awareness sort of, you know, over a period of years. I started to focus on my sensitivity and really started to look at what that meant. What does it mean to be sensitive? And I discovered it's my largest and brightest superpower. My sensitivity is so incredible that I have the ability to tune in to how others are feeling just by being in their presence, how animals are feeling just by being in their presence, and I can energetically uplift someone just with a smile. That kind of power is off the charts when you discover that. So all you empaths out there who are listening or watching, who recognize themselves as being somebody who was told they were overly sensitive, or, you know, you take everything, you know, too dramatically or whatever. Ask yourself,
Why are you so moody?
yes, yes. That's a great one. Yeah, why are you so moody? Oh, I don't know. The world is crumbling. You know, there's like alligators dying in the rain. The rainforest is falling apart. I mean, yeah, we bring it all in, right? Like
Yeah,
the
we do.
world, we bring it all in.
Yeah, psychic sponges.
So, yeah. So of course, but because we have that higher awareness, we are able to articulate when we take the time to actually, you know, go inside. We are able to articulate our feelings and emotions better than most. We are also able to anticipate, you know, when we think of a response to somebody. So we're coming back to the drama. So when we think of a response to someone, we know what's going to sting, and we know what's going to be, you know, something that's going to soften the blow, or soften the whole energy in the room. So the power in that is huge, because, you know, unless you're a narcissistic empath, which can happen, I've met some, which is hard to believe, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the shadow side of an empath, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, but you know, if you, which it's rare, and I think we all have the ability to go down that path, but for the most part, we're highly sensitive and in tune. We have to be so conscious and aware of what energy we're putting out, that, you know, just by staying in our space and grounding our space, we can change the energy in a room, a house, a building. We have that power to do that. And that's a huge superpower. Like, that's enormous. So when you get yourself into a mood, right, or you're frustrated or you're sad about something, be aware that you have the power to change the environment in which you are standing or present in. You know, as much as we can perceive information from others energetically, oh my God, when we put it out, like, it goes out, and it's a heavy load we're putting on others. So taking you back to your neighbor, because you'd said like this guy and you have had this sparring match, you know, it reminded me of a neighbor that I had for a short period of time. She moved in, she had 3 kids, and clearly was over her head. No support. But these kids would be outside from the early morning to the late at night, and just screaming and very combative with each other. And I think the youngest was 2, the oldest was 5. So you can imagine these children outside all day long. And I was like, what is going on there? So I would see her and I would say, do you need anything? Can I help you with anything? You know, like I would try and be a neighborly person. But these kids were so wrapped up in their mother's trauma, right, of not feeling supported, not supporting herself, that they were combative all day long. So you'd hear swearing out of 2-year-olds' mouths. It was awful. And it went on for about a week when she first moved in. And I finally got the awareness, because I'm like, what do I do to help this woman? I don't want to call social services. Like, that's not going to help her or her children.
Yeah,
like, they're fed. So all of a sudden I heard, just ask the angels to be with her and support her. It was simple, so simple. So I sent love to her instead of being angry, frustrated, disgusted, overwhelmed by her lack of attention to her children. I sent love. And I said, just go be with her and help her engage with her children. Help her see this is not the end. And I'm telling you, within 5 minutes of doing that, this woman comes outside and she started engaging in playing hide and go seek with the kids. I'd never seen her do it in 2 weeks. It was amazing. So I just constantly, when I see, you know, we've all been in a store and we've seen somebody acting poorly towards another person or aggressive.
Of course.
Empaths, right? We hone in on that stuff, right? Like fish to a shiny lure. So we see this. I want you to practice this now, that you're going to send love, angels, whatever you want, send compassion, love, and protection to that soul in that moment, and to the one that's receiving that negative stuff. And you'll watch it happen right in front of you. It's just off the charts awesome. So that's the power of our energy.
Yeah.
We can do cool stuff with it.
Yeah, you know, it's so true. Like, you don't realize, like, again, I was the same way. Like, I called it my curse. And it wasn't until I realized what it was. Like, I mean, it took me years to figure out what it was. I just thought I was batshit crazy for the longest time. I thought it was really, I thought, you know, I had a, you know, because I had a lot of history of in our family with mental health. And I just thought, oh, I just got it like everybody else. And then I realized, you know, you're an empath, Michael. Do you know that? Oh, you know, you're a clairvoyant. You know, you're this. And I'm like, no. But then my whole life could realize, once I figured that out, it's like somebody told me that, and it's like, oh my God, that makes sense now.
Everything makes sense now.
Everything makes sense. It was absolutely fantastic and beautiful.
Yeah.
Liz, we're almost out of time.
I know. It's been so much fun.
You know, it's been fantastic. And I think this is, you know, it's a perfect topic to be talking about today. And I think there's a lot of powerful messages in there. And it's really important to put out those messages. That's kind of why I wanted to do this podcast, is to kind of have, you know, help people out there. And it's been actually a beautiful experience for me so far. I mean, I've learned a lot, met a lot of fantastic people like yourself and your partner, Amber.
Oh,
little shout out to Amber.
Love Miss Amber.
Yeah, like perfect example of somebody who is integrity and just a big open heart. Love that.
Yeah.
That being said, Liz, you do so many different things. Besides being a psychic medium, where can people find you? If they're people are listening into the podcast today and they're watching this, where can they find you?
If they go to just lizthrop.com, LIZTHROP.com, that's my website, and you'll see all the fun stuff that I'm tackling at any given moment. I'm kind of an overachiever there. I have to keep, reinventing the wheel. So yeah, and Amber has been amazing. We've got a lot of projects that we're doing together. We do our own show, The Insiders. We have a Crystal of the Month club that we launched at the beginning of the year, which is a lot of fun. People are loving that. But yeah, there's so many cool things, guys.
Let's talk, just to briefly mention, the psychic gigs too, as well, which is, I think it's very important for people listening out there too, as well.
Yes. So, as a child myself, going through the trauma of being psychic and not knowing it, like you had mentioned, you had no idea why these things were happening to you, why, people were showing up that nobody else could see, that kind of fun stuff. So I had the awareness that something needed to be done for kids who didn't have a supporting family member that could even understand what that meant, right? So we created Psychic Kids United, my other partner, Margaret Sample, and I. And it's just a beautiful place to help. You know, it's really about helping the grown-ups support their psychic kids. That's really what it is. But it's a resource center, and that can be found at www.psychickidsunited.com.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's so important. You know, we got we got all these kids coming up there with just so many gifts, and they don't know what to do with it.
Beautiful children happening in the world right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And just even some younger adults, like I've been having a lot of young naturopathic people out there with these
So amazing.
like some freaky gifts. Like I call my group little super freaks because they're just amazing. Their abilities are off the charts. It blows me away.
They're little mind readers. They're little mind readers, and they're just, I mean, both my grandchildren, my daughter who denies her gifts, you know, we both know how that works out.
Yeah.
She denies, but my grandchildren are fully embracing. So I've gotten them from like when they started, you know, showing signs. And so I've been able to, you know, nurture that and really embrace that. So we're just seeing these highly elevated, you know, little beings who are going to just change the planet. I just know it.
Yeah, I mean, I got little chills there. I got little goosebumps from that. Yeah, I think it's just absolutely amazing. Well, that being said, Liz, I'm just going to close off the podcast. And again, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. So this has been the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.